You are at a party. The music is loud, people are laughing, but instead of mingling, you've locked yourself in a bathroom stall. You're staring at the tile floor, listening to the muffled bass vibrate through the door, feeling a physical pressure tightening your chest. Society provides a ready-made set of labels for this behavior. You might hear that you have social anxiety, that you are being antisocial, or that you are simply too sensitive and need to toughen up. The pressure in your chest and the frantic urge to escape are signals from a nervous system struggling to manage an overwhelming volume of environmental data. You likely belong to the 20% of the population whose nervous system experiences a physiological state called systemic overload when placed in high-stimulus environments. Overcoming this exhaustion means examining the mechanics of your sensory intake to understand why your internal system is reporting a critical error. The human brain functions as a sophisticated environmental data processor. Its primary job, every single second of the day, is to constantly sort through incoming sensory information. For people with a trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, this sorting process operates differently. The brain normally relies on a gating mechanism to manage the flow of incoming sights, sounds, and textures. This diagram shows how that gate works in a typical nervous system. The filter cleanly deflects about 80% of the data, background noise, overlapping conversations, and only lets the relevant 20% pass through. Highly sensitive brains experience something neuroscientists call low latent inhibition. In this state, the central filter opens completely. Instead of a tidy flow, an overwhelming flood of data pours straight through. While a standard brain records reality in an efficient 720p, the unfiltered brain captures the hum of the refrigerator, the texture of a shirt, and the slight hesitation in a friend's voice, all at once, rendering the world in 8K resolution. Because your radar picks up the signals everyone else misses, your brain is performing a massive amount of additional cognitive work compared to a standard nervous system in the same room. Biology builds complex systems with specific purposes. Historically, having a hypersensitive 8K brain provided a significant advantage for human survival. Imagine standing in a perfectly still, ancient forest. It is silent, but the stakes are high. In this environment, your brain needs to process a single snapping twig deeply and instantly, because that tiny sound might indicate a predator. A modern social gathering is the exact opposite of that quiet forest. A party is a low-stakes space filled with high-velocity, constant noise. Your biology treats every piece of that high-velocity noise as highly relevant, critical survival data. This gauge visualizes the resulting systemic overload. As the volume of inputs multiplies, your internal RAM rapidly fills up, pushing your cognitive engine straight into the red zone just to stay in neutral. That sudden urge to flee a party is a biological safety mechanism, triggering a forced shutdown to prevent your system from sustaining damage. Locking that bathroom door serves as a strategic biological intervention, providing the exact reset your nervous system requires. Environmental psychologists call this a restorative niche. It is a dedicated physical space where you can let your overwhelmed nervous system drop back to an idle state. We live in a world built for resilient dandelions, people whose nervous systems thrive in chaotic noise. But if you have an 8K brain, you are an orchid. You require these quiet niches to prevent your system from withering. Your new protocol for the next social event is simple. The moment you feel that familiar fog of overstimulation, immediately step away to a restorative niche, a quiet car, a stairwell, or the bathroom, for 5 minutes. The primary rule in this space is that you maintain zero engagement with your smartphone. Bright screens and digital notifications act as a secondary sensory assault. Scrolling will only push your overloaded RAM further into the red. You just sit there, breathe, and let your engine cool down. Managing this sensitivity involves being intentional about your sensory diet, minimizing depleting inputs while prioritizing the specific quiet moments your biology demands. Retreating to a quiet space is a necessary tool for managing a brain built for 8K resolution. If you want to understand why this hypersensitivity also causes you to physically absorb the emotions of others, click the video on screen to learn how your hyperactive mirror neurons create the emotional sponge effect.